My name is Joe Baker, and as mayor of Kennedy, Texas, there is no higher priority to me than the health and safety of the people of this community. And it's for that reason, about 2 weeks ago, I made a video to share some information about the recent spike in COVID-19 cases that we have seen here in Karnes County, and how Karnes County is now at a severe risk level for COVID-19. Several people asked me where I got the information for this, so I thought today I would share some of that with you by going online and showing you some of the websites that I visit to get this information. There was a time when we were, as elected officials, we were emailed daily updates from the state health agencies on the status of COVID-19 here in Karnes County, but for some reason, and I'm not sure what the reason is, we stopped receiving those updates. So now it's more of a do-it-yourself approach to getting the information. So one of the things that I started doing recently is I'll open up Google and I will search COVID Karnes, and what pops up right away is a snapshot of the timeline of the severity of the coronavirus disease in Karnes County over time. And what we can see is about a year ago, the coronavirus was at its worst back here in August of 2020, and we went through a period where things got a whole lot better. Then it kind of came up somewhat during these months, but not to an extreme level. And then now, since around July 1st, we started seeing a gradual increase in cases, and so now we're at the point where it's about as bad now as it was at its worst in August of 2020. One of the websites I visit most often is a website called Covidactnow.org, which is a partnership with several major universities, and they get their information from the New York Times, and the New York Times gets their information from the Texas Department of State Health Services and the CDC. So the first thing you see at the screen here is the vaccination progress, and you can see Texas is at 46% fully vaccinated, which is not as high. It's higher than some states, but it's not as high as others. As you can see in Vermont, the vaccination rate for fully vaccinated is 67% by comparison. You click on Texas, you'll see a map here that shows vaccination rates across the state. And you can click on Karnes, and you will see, when you scroll down to vaccinations, that we are at 41.3% fully vaccinated, which is lower than the state average. And so this is something that we pay close attention to. It's coming up slowly over time. It's come up from 0 back in February up to 41.3% now, and that's where we are in terms of vaccinations. This is one of the things that concerns me the most about the information that I found here. As you can see, for Karnes County, Texas, we are at a severe risk level. Now, what does that mean, severe? How severe are we? Click here for more information. You can go here. You can see that they analyze the data based on various different things, but there are 5 risk categories from low, medium, high, very high risk, and severe risk. And right now in Karnes County, we are at the highest of that risk level for COVID-19. Furthermore, when we're looking at the severe risk level and how that compares to other counties across the state, you can scroll down to this screen where you can click on daily new cases per 100,000. That means how many new cases are reported each day per 100,000 population. And as you can see, Karnes County is number 2 in the state right now, and not in a good way. There is only one county in the state of Texas, Dimmitt County, right now, where the daily new cases per 100,000 is higher than what we have. We are currently at 182.2, and that is very high compared to most places across the state, most places across the country. As we scroll down here, we can take a look at cases in Karnes County over time. And as you can see, our worst period was about a year ago, in August of 2020, when we reached a peak of 185.9 cases per day per 100,000. And as you can see, just recently, we have reached a point where we have matched that rate. Here, just recently, a few days ago, we measured 189.5 cases per 100,000. So as you can see from this chart, it's as bad right now as it ever has been in Karnes County. And this is something that we should all be concerned about. What you're seeing on your screen here is information that's at the Karnes County, Texas website right now, which came directly from the Texas Department of State Health Services. And as you can see, it matches up to the information we were looking at earlier. Our highest point was about a year ago. We went through a low period and then a higher period. And now, once we reach the month of July, we're starting to see cases increase again. Unfortunately, the most recent data on this particular chart is about 3 weeks old. So it's not really what you might consider up-to-date information. I try to stay up to date on a daily basis. This is I'm not sure whether they do it monthly or how often these reports are released, but I will definitely be watching closely once the next report comes out, hopefully at the beginning of September. Before becoming mayor, I was in the news business for many years, so I am a bit of a news junkie, and I visit lots of news websites every day, all the time. And I wanted to share 2 things that I read that really resonated with me, and I wanted everyone else to take a look at. This is from a very conservative publication, the Washington Examiner, a column in regard to the coronavirus and vaccinations and why so many people are so hesitant to get vaccinated. So I thought I would share this, especially the last part of this paragraph. Yes, the original coronavirus projections were completely wrong. Yes, the government's lockdown efforts did a lot more harm than good, and the continued imposition of restrictions has gotten out of control. And yes, many of our officials were dishonest and hypocritical. All of these complaints are true and justified, but consider this. The vast majority of people who are in the hospital right now with the coronavirus are unvaccinated. The people most likely to end up with long-term symptoms are the unvaccinated. You don't need to pay attention to Fauci anymore because those numbers speak for themselves. The other part of an article that I recently read that I wanted to share was from Newsweek magazine. And in this article, a reporter was interviewing the director for the Center of Disease and Control and Prevention, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, asking her about the misinformation that we're seeing about vaccinations in the media these days. And I thought it was interesting what Dr. Walensky had to say about this. She said, "My job is to give accurate information to the American people. Here is the accurate information. The vast majority of people in this country who are getting infected with COVID, who are showing up in the hospital with COVID, and now who are dying with COVID are people who have not received this vaccine. Over 85 million people in this country are eligible for a vaccine and are not receiving it and have not yet received it." So that's some of the information that I've been looking at that I wanted to share with you. I've heard several local officials and state officials say that it's important that the decision whether or not to get the vaccine should be a personal choice. And I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. But at the same time, I want everyone to make the best choices to protect their own safety, the safety of their family members, their friends, and their neighbors, and their whole community. So I want to tell you about my decision to take the vaccine and how I reached that conclusion. When the opportunity came up in February to get the vaccine, I had to decide whether I wanted to get it or whether I didn't want to get it. And I thought about it for a good 5 minutes. And the thing that came into my mind was my mom and dad are both in their 90s, and they're at a very high risk group for catching the coronavirus. And The thought that I kept coming back to was, I would never be able to forgive myself if I didn't get the vaccine, and that either my mom or my dad caught the coronavirus from me and suffered as a result of it. So once I reached that conclusion, then it was a very simple decision. I was the first in our family to get the vaccine, and as soon as it was available, my wife got the vaccine, our children all got the vaccine, my mom and dad all got the vaccine, and I am very glad and very thankful to God that over these past 6 months, we have all been very healthy, and we have had no cases of the coronavirus in our immediate family. I wish that were true for everyone else that I knew here in Karnes County, because there are so many people in Karnes County who have caught the coronavirus and have suffered from it terribly. And 38 people in Karnes County have died from the coronavirus. So this is not something that we should take lightly. It should not be downplayed. It's serious, and whenever possible, my prayer is everyone will do everything they can to keep themselves safe, to keep their community safe, and I hope everyone can stay as healthy for as long as possible. So thank you for listening. For more information about the coronavirus vaccine, please call the Otto Kaiser Memorial Hospital vaccine line at 830-583-9380.